Hello Aries, welcome to your lunar cycle from Sunday, April 15th to Tuesday, May 15th. Where do we begin? So this is a really exciting time because this is the last new moon in Aries that is going to have Uranus conjunct in about 84 years. And what this means is because this is the last chance for us to experience Uranus in Aries for a lot of us for the rest of our lifetimes, or until we're really, really old anyways. Um, this is an incredible opportunity to be able to leap forward with this lunar cycle. The conditions of the new moon impact how the entire lunar cycle goes. And so even though we have the sun moving on into Taurus on Thursday, April 19th, very quickly, 4 days after the beginning of this lunar cycle, and even though the full moon will be in Moon in Scorpio, Sun in Taurus, and Uranus won't directly be involved with it, still, because the birth of this lunar cycle has Sun, Moon, and Uranus together in Aries, the entire lunar cycle is going to be about moving forward. So it's really fitting because especially we have Uranus moving into Taurus right after this lunar cycle, May 15th, and we'll cover that a little bit later. But it's really fitting that this handing off of the torch, if you will. Whereas this last lunar cycle, the one that we're in right now at the making of this video, was all about Aries, just plethora of Aries energy. Right now we have kind of like, foot in both camps. We have Mercury in Aries, and we'll get to that in a moment. And we have Sun in Aries, but Sun's moving on in Taurus, Uranus moves into Taurus shortly, and then Mercury will eventually move into Taurus too during this lunar cycle on May 13th. But again, we'll get to that as well. So much stuff to get to. Basically, for this lunar cycle, move forward as quickly as possible, but also as practically as possible, making sure to not overextend yourself, to not explode. Uranus energy is incredible in a lot of ways. It allows us to make huge leaps forward in understanding, in growth, in how we interact with the world, in ideas and genius and innovation. But the challenging part of that is the madness thing. It's like that fine line between genius and madness. And Uranus is that every planet, every energy has its bright side and its shadow side, and that's the shadow side to deal with. Is, are we going to be able to move forward? So this is a big theme, especially because Mercury is in Aries for almost the entirety of this lunar cycle. Mercury spent a lot of time in Aries, which is really pleasant for you and for the entire world in a lot of ways, and also really challenging in a lot of ways. Let's see, so Mercury first went into Aries March 6th, and on the 22nd of March, it went retrograde, and it's been retrograde until the very beginning of this lunar cycle. So what this means is, for most of March, except for that first week, it was about moving forward. New ideas, new communications, new interactions, especially with Venus and Aries too, new social connections. And then Mercury went retrograde on March 22nd. And then it's like, I have so much energy, but I don't know how to express it. I'm getting angry. Especially with Uranus being in Aries, Sun being in Aries, and Venus being in Aries for most of this last lunar cycle up until the full moon on the 30th of March, I believe. So what this means for this lunar cycle is, okay, let's calm, let's breathe, let's fix what was broken and move forward. So the shadow period, what that means is when Mercury went retrograde from our point, from its point in its orbit, from our perspective here on Earth, it seemed to be going backwards. Now, none of the planets go backward. They're all orbiting around the sun. It's just because space is in our solar system is so large, and because the orbits are so different, certain planets seem to go retrograde. And what this means is basically the shadow period is when it stops seeming to go backwards from our perspective, but it still quite hasn't been where it started to seem to go backwards. I know it's a little confusing, especially with Mercury retrograde, but what it means is the shadow period is basically saying we're not quite moving forward. So it's Mercury in Aries time, it's direct at the beginning of this lunar cycle, but we're still kind of looking at the past going, okay, what are the final things I need to fix? Whereas before, when Mercury was retrograde from the 22nd to April 15th, it was just like, oh my God, there's so much from the past. Like, I'm not able to move forward. I have to focus all my energy on this stuff that I thought was already done, or stuff that I thought was long buried and gone away. Well, now that's not present, but it's not. We're not quite out of the woods yet. Now it's like, okay, I gotta rebury that. I gotta fix that. I gotta, it's when Mercury is in its shadow period in any energy, but especially with Aries, we're focusing our energy not quite where we would like to focus on, or rather like moving forward anyways, but it is very helpful for us to stop, to rewind a little bit, and to look at the recent past, look at this last year, even any time in the past, and go, okay, well, what do I need to fix from here on out? How do I move forward? So the the end of the shadow period is on May 4th, and Mercury will go into Taurus May 13th. So we're looking at a solid 9 days of just whoosh, a huge sprint. So if you're excited about things are finally moving forward for you, especially after this last month of just standstill and frustration and whatnot. Especially with Mars being in Capricorn, we'll get to that in a moment. We're looking at about 9 days when it's just like a leap, like, okay, it's all good to go, okay, rocket fuel and rocket launch, go! And then Mercury will go into Taurus. Now, it's not to say that things won't progress, because naturally, as an Aries, you're going to be progressing in any season regardless. But this is a wonderful time from May 4th to May 13th to just absolutely go for it. And even before then, because Mercury is now direct, you are going to be able to focus a lot more on the future. Now, there's going to be times when you're focusing on the past, certain things you just have to wrap up and whatnot and resolve, but ultimately it is about moving forward. So, the Mars and Capricorn thing, that is very challenging as an Aries, because Saturn's also been in Capricorn, and as we said in the last new moon news, that square, that Capricorn energy is square your Aries energy. From the perspective of Earth, here we have Aries over here, and we have Capricorn over here. So they come at the Earth, because the Earth is in the center. I know it looks like the sun, but whatever. At the end of the day, we're looking from the Earth's perspective. So they clash. Is there a lot of beautiful tension, or a lot of beautiful things that come from that tension of the clash? Absolutely. We learn so much. Capricorn and Aries are both about moving forward. The thing is, they move forward in very different ways. Aries, this last lunar cycle has been about, like, so let's sprint. Capricorn's like, no, I'm going to power walk, And it's the tortoise and the hare thing. That's been something that's very challenging for Aries energy individuals to accept this last month. And for this lunar cycle, it gets easier, but it is still present. So it's something to keep in mind that, okay, things are moving forward for sure, but I still need to take my time. I need to check myself. I need to make sure that I'm not wasting energy on fruitless anger. We have to allow our anger. Anger is a big key during this time. If we utilize our natural momentum and passion, and also on the other side of it, anger, in positive senses to make the world a better place, expressing ourselves maturely, not just blowing up in anger without any kind of clear, like, yes, I'm angry, but I want to do this, so we fix this problem. That's a solution. Or instead of, I'm angry, I'm going to lash out at you. Not a solution. So this is a chance to learn a lot about yourself, and just take your time. Long story short, just take your time, breathe into it, and this lunar cycle will get a lot easier, and you'll be able to build a lot more. Just be patient, okay? Venus goes into Gemini April 24th from Taurus, so that's going to be very exciting. A lot of communications between you and others, a lot of good time spent learning about new people, meeting new people, and people who can help you specifically with any kind of ideas that you need or that you're inspired by to fulfill them to a further extent. Being able to meet new people is going to be very helpful in a lot of ways, especially for you since Mercury will be in Aries. So the last thing we're going to cover is Uranus going into Taurus. It's been 8 long years of you experiencing Uranus in Aries, giving you incredible evolution forward, but it's also, again, Uranus is that genius and madness. It's like everything's going great. I've learned all these new things, and now it's like, how do I apply it? And also, what do I really think? And this is all confusing. And where's my previous life? And now I'm destabilized. It's been a long cycle, a long challenge of learning how to move forward, but also to preserve the past. And it's really fitting that Mars is in Capricorn during this time, because that's a big theme with that energy as well. So enjoy that Uranus is moving on. This is a great time to look back at the last 8 years and go, what have I learned? How have I grown? And also to look forward, not just to look backward, but to look forward and go, how do I want to grow in the next 8 years? And it's good to keep in mind that you've undergone a huge evolution these last 8 years. And if you feel like you haven't evolved enough, or, all of us are always evolving, otherwise we're stagnating. But I mean, like, evolving in a psychological way. That's the goal. we're always evolving, but it's not going to be quite as intense. It's not going to be quite as sudden. It won't be an earthquake evolution. It'll be like building a mountain over the next 8 years for you. So that's something to good. That's very, very happy to look forward to, definitely. Again, Uranus conjunct your sun, and any other Aries energies that you have are really beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's intense. It's nice to have things calm down a little bit. So something to look forward to for this lunar cycle and for the next 8 years. Infinite love to you, my friend. Namaste.